Hello, good evening, and welcome back to the DIY office design series, where we have been working on building a built-in desk and shelving unit from scratch over the last 12 episodes, or 6 months if you've been keeping track. The build is finally complete and ready for its debut, and only a few days after my official 1-year YouTube anniversary too. Being on YouTube has been a wild ride, and I can't tell you how much joy creating for this channel has brought me. It's truly a pleasure to share my home and hobbies with you, so thank you for being here. Now, before I reveal the finished build, I thought it would be fun to take a trip down memory lane and share a little recap of this project. I think it's safe to say I've learned more during this one build than I have during any other project I've worked on. But all of my combined knowledge from past projects, big and small, gave me the confidence to tackle something this layered. After dreaming and sketching and planning and gathering materials for what felt like months, we officially warmed up the tools and learned how to construct our very first base cabinet. We continued on building and leveling the remaining base components of the desk in preparation for the floating L-shaped countertop. The level and I became very close friends from this point on. Once I convinced myself the only way to succeed or fail was to try, I learned how to scribe a template and constructed a custom L-shaped countertop out of 2 joined slabs of double thick 3/4 inch plywood to nestle into our very wobbly old walls. Onward and upward to the upper cabinet boxes. We'd already built 1 cabinet box, so cutting and assembling 5 more was relatively smooth sailing, and the first glimpse of a little character with our beadboard cabinet backs. We used an unreasonable amount of screws to secure these upper cabinets to the base and walls after checking for levelness an unreasonable amount of times. I feel bad for whoever decides to take this down, and I really hope it's not me. Next came face frame, which was a relief for a few reasons. For one, I've installed face frame before, so I was far more relaxed during this part of the process. And second, I was so sick of staring at the unfinished wood edges. Even though paint was still a few weeks out, things really started to come together at this point and look like the real deal. While I spent what felt like years prepping the surfaces for paint, wood filling, and sanding on repeat until my arms nearly fell off, I broke out my Faro and Ball paint swatch books to explore color choices. My head told me it was time to go bold, but my heart already knew it was going to be a color tried and true. It is my office after all, and I wanted to love it. We primed all of the fresh raw wood and then drenched the built-ins in color. I also began thinking about potential wallpaper patterns for the walls, but I decided to save that for a future office enhancement. We will see. That was just the beginning for paint. I pulled the color onto all of the trim and doors in the room, which to me is reminiscent of so many historic and traditional New England home interiors. I've always wanted to do colored trim, and this may just be the gateway to more colored trim in our home. I am in love. I set aside the painting supplies for a little bit to learn how to build the cabinet doors and drawer front, you guessed it, from scratch. Now, we built our own cabinet doors for the kitchen at our last house, but Matt kind of took the lead on those, so this was new-ish to me. Turns out if you measure twice and cut once, things usually turn out okay. I stalled on building the drawer box and installing the slides for so long, thinking they would be more complicated than they really were, but I was pleasantly surprised at how smoothly this installation went. Every step of the way, I've been able to build on my skills, and by this point, I wasn't just chalking everything up to luck. Like, I actually kind of knew what I was doing. Go figure. In the last episode, we left off with painting all of the cabinet doors, front and back, and every little crevice, and giving the office walls a fresh coat of warm white paint, which was the color Pointing by Faro and Ball. Since then, I have been working on some of the smaller details, like painting new outlet covers to disappear into the walls, and installing grommets in the desk so we could easily hide cords and access the outlets. I received the custom glass inserts for our glass cabinet doors So I installed those panels with glass retainer clips and hung all of the doors. Thankfully, the glass fit perfectly, and the work we'd done pre-drilling all of the holes for the hinges made hanging the doors go very smoothly. The unlacquered brass hardware also arrived, and I applied a brass aging solution to each piece to match the color of these closer to that of the faux brass hinges. Then I carefully measured and installed all of the knobs and pulls so we could open everything with ease. I'm really pleased with the shape of the knobs. I originally wasn't sure about the oval shape, but they have a really nice feel to them. The final touch, and the component that made my brain spiral the most, was the crown molding. If it weren't for our unlevel ceilings, I think I would have done this much earlier. After much thought, probably too much if I'm being honest, I decided to hang the crown level and fill the tapered void with pieces of wood that were flush with the top edge of the molding. I custom cut filler pieces to fit each space, then I nailed them in place, wood filled and caulked. I think I let out an audible sigh when this was done because what was left felt so easy. I painted the crown the same color as the built-ins and the filler piece the same as the ceiling to create an optical illusion that the ceiling was actually level. Now all of that has led us to this very moment, the finished built-ins. That, my friends, concludes the built-in build, a project I have been imagining in my head since we moved in 2022, but didn't have the guts to tackle until 2024. I have poured my heart and soul into this project. I have cried happy and frustrated tears. I've surprised myself and learned that I am capable of doing hard things and doing them well, if only with a little patience and perseverance. Now we can begin decorating and layering in all of the things that make this space a true reflection of me and all the things I love. Thank you so much for watching this video and the series and cheering me on for the last 6 months. If you liked this video, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up, drop a comment below, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch up with you in the next vlog.